In the previous video, we completed about authentication and authorization. So we have already completed a big deal of our API. Now let us do little fine tuning on our API. So if you see here, this is the movie schema, okay, and there are some constraint on this. So if you see movie duration, minimum is 1 minute, right? Movie rating, it should be between 0 and 10, right? Movie genre, it should be either one of the value from the given array, right? So these are some of the constraints that we have added in our schema. Now what I will do, I will go to create movie API, okay, and here if you see, if you remember, movie rating should be between 0 to 10. So I will add some invalid data, okay, because as a user I might add wrong data, right? It's very frequent, it's very usual, it is very usual to happen like that, right? So possible. And here action, I might unknowingly say actions plural, okay. Now what will happen, I'll send the request, okay. So if you see, our app crashed, right, because we are not sending the correct data. Now what is more important to see here is from where this error message is coming, okay. So if you see here, this is where the error is coming, mongoose. That means this error is coming from our database, right? Our database ideally should be occupied with serving business needs, right? But if you send wrong data, our database is occupied with unnecessary validation and it might slow down the genuine request. Possible, right? So we should always try to offload as much work from database as possible. Database should be busy with serving the data, not doing the validation. I mean, of course it will do the validation. If it gets wrong data, it will throw you error, but it takes a lot of computation time from the database, right? That time could be easily utilized to serve genuine user request. So what we should do is move this validation from database to controller. That means as such the schema level validation will be there, but on top of that, if we can add a validation at controller level and see if we are sending correct data or not, that would be great. So if we are not getting the correct data from controller itself, we will send back the error. It will not even go to service, it will not even go to repository, and subsequently it will not even go to the database. So this is the approach that we want, okay. Do the validation as early as possible, okay. Don't offload the validation till the database. So for this, of course, we'll use a library. So here there is a library called Express Validator. So we will say npm install Express Validator, right? So I'll press enter and it will install it, okay. Then how to use this library? So I will come to movies controller. So what I'm playing with create movie. So in movie controller, in this post I am doing create movie, okay. So first thing that I need is the validation. So if you see, this is the request body. So from the request body we are taking all this information. So I need to first hook into the request body, okay. So for this I will use body from Express Validator, okay. And how to use this? This is just a middleware, okay. So here I will come, I'll take some space and I will say body, and I'll add a comma here so that it will not throw squiggly lines. Body, and what parameter I'm checking? Let us check movie rating. So I will take movie rating, okay. I'm just adding a layer of validation. Then what is the data type? So it should be is. Then what is the data type? So if you see here, movie schema, this is float data type, right? So 0.0 to 10.0, so I can say 5.5, also. So I will say is float, and here I can pass a object and say min 0.0 and max is 10.0. okay, so here what I'm saying, this movie rating should be a float data type, and it should be within this min and max range. Okay, and there is another field called with message. Okay, so here I can add a message that I want to tell the user, okay, what you are doing wrong. Okay, so I will say rating must be between 0 and 10. Feel free to add whatever message you want based on your need, based on your business requirement. Okay, now, so I'll add this much and I will save it. Now I'll come to terminal, and here I'll come back to this process, right? So if you see, server is running and connected to the database. Now I'll try to send this request again. Let us see what happens. It is still crashing, right? So what additionally we have to do, and it is still crashing at the mongoose level, right? So mongoose library is throwing this error. Okay, so there is one more key. So what this middleware will do, it will attach this message to your request. It will not explicitly do any handling, but it will just attach the error to the request. So in the controller or in another middleware, I can hook that requests error and do a display. So let us do that. So here if you see, we have this create movie middleware. So I'll go inside this one. Okay, then I will import one function from the express validator. So what I will do, there is a function called validation result. So I will say import, okay, something from express validator. Okay, and here I will say validation result. Then I will come to create movie, and here what I will do, const errors equals to validation result, and I will pass the request. Then I will do a log of these errors. Let us see what we are getting. Okay, so I will take some space from the terminal. I will come to the end. So if you see, server is running successfully. Then I will come to request, and if you see here, we are still sending the 18.8, that is wrong data, right? So I will send the request. Okay, it is still crashing, but if you see here, there is a result. Okay, and there is a message saying rating must be between 0 and 10. Interesting, right? So this is the message that we have added here, right? This message. So somewhere we are able to access this error message. Okay, now what I want to do is, I don't want to add this kind of validation result in all the service methods, right? So what is that we can do? We can extract it into a middleware. Okay, so what I will do, I will remove it from here. Okay, then I will come here to middleware. Okay, and here what I will do, I will add a new middleware. I will say validation error middleware.js. Then here I will import validation result from express validator. Then I will export const handle validation errors. Okay, and this will be request response and next. This is just a typical middleware. Then what I will say, const errors equals to validation result and I'll pass the request. So I'll get all the errors. Then I will just do a log and we'll see what errors we are getting. Okay, then I will call the next method. This function is still incomplete, but let us see. So here I have the errors and I will add another log saying coming from validation middleware. Okay, so that we can see in the console. Then handle validation error. I will come to movies controller, and after this body, this line of code, I will add that middleware. So for that, first what I have to do, I have to import it. So import, okay, import what I want to import, handle validation errors. So I will say handle validation error from middlewares, validation error middleware.js, and I will simply, what I will do, I will attach this method after this. Okay, then we will come again to movies and we will send this request again. So I'll scroll down, server is as usual running, then I will send the request. Okay, now we'll scroll up and this is the log, and if you see here we have the array of errors. So let us fine tune this. So I'll say errors dot array, so it will convert it into an array. Now we'll come to movies, we'll see now what is the log. So I'll send the request. Then if you see, this is the array which has type, value, message, path and location. Now what I want to extract the message from here, and this is an array. Okay, so there can be multiple errors, right? Okay, so for this what I will do, I will come here and I will say map err dot message. Okay, then I will come to create movie. I'll scroll down and I will send the request again. Now if you see, I'll scroll up, now it is just an array. Okay, one single array. So now at least we are able to gather all the error message. Okay, now I will come here and this I will copy. Okay, and I will say const error array equals to this value. Then what I will do, I'll remove this one. If error array dot length is greater than 0, that means if there is at least one error, what I will do, I will say response dot status. Okay, status of 400, that is bad request, and JSON I will pass, what I will pass, I'll pass error array. Okay, then I will return, otherwise go to next. So what will happen here, if there is at least one error, it will immediately throw it out. Okay, if there isn't any error, it will go to next method, that means it will go to subsequent middlewares. Okay, so this handle validation error logic is also done. Then I'll scroll down, server is running as usual, so I will come here, and here if you see I'm still sending 18.8. okay, so we'll come here and we'll send the request. Now interestingly, the server did not crash, but if you see the response, I'm getting some response that is saying rating must be between 0 and 10. So for this we are able to handle the error. Now if you see, this is still actions, right? This is still not handling. So how to handle this error? For this, what we will do, here we are sending this one single object, right? Instead what we can do, we can convert it into an array of all validation and pass it together. So for this, what I will do, I will create a variable, okay, say const validate movie data. This will be an array, okay, and in this array I will add this. I will take this one, okay, and I will cut it from here and paste it here, okay, and then add this value instead, okay, and here I can add other validation. So let me just quickly add those validation because it is just typing the data, okay. So I have added all the validation. So if you see, this name should be same as this name, okay, the body name, then it should be string, and it should not be empty after doing trim, and there is a message. Similarly is the case for description. Then movie duration, what is this? So it should be minimum of 0, it cannot be negative number. Movie rating we have seen, and genre is interesting. So here I'm saying is in movie genre. That means this value should be in this array, okay, that is this array, action, comedy, drama and all those things, right? So it should be within this array. That's what is in movie genre means, okay. So now I will save this one, then I will send the request. So if you see, duration must be a positive number, rating must be between 0 and 10, then invalid movie genre. So I will fix all my error, okay, and I will send the request. So it will happily insert into the database. So what advantage did we gain from here? So instead of validation happening at the database level, we are doing the validation at the controller level now. So our database is offloaded with doing the validations, okay. And similarly we have done it in movies controller. The same thing we can do it in participants controller also. So what I will do, I will come to participants controller, and here what I will do, I will add the validation data, okay, and here also it is the same thing, name, then string, then trim, it should not be empty with a message, right? And here what I can do, I can add the validation here, validate params, then there is a middleware. So if you see, handle validation error, so I will attach that handle validation error, so it will import also, okay. So this same thing we can do in the update method also, because it is taking the same data. So I will copy and paste it here, add a comma, and same thing I can do in movies controller. So this handle validation, this validation, validate movie data, and handle validation error, I can add in this put method also, because it is also taking the same body, okay. Then it is saying body is not defined, okay. Why it is not defined? So we will take this body import and we will paste it here, okay. So now if you see, database is connected and server is running. So this is the validation that we have added. So this is first part of fine tuning. What is the next part? So there are a few APIs which are authenticated, but there are few APIs which are not authenticated. These are the get methods and our login and register method. So the get method, it was the business need that we implemented, and we said the get method need not be authenticated because this is a public API. And the login and registration, of course we cannot authenticate it, right, because that is the path to authentication. So if this should always be open, right, so that anybody can do a login. So login and register, we cannot put it behind a authentication layer. Now what problem will happen is, a mischievous user can repeatedly keep on sending requests to your login and register method. What will happen? It will keep on creating new user, keep on doing new authentication, keep on generating the hash, right? And at some point the servers will crash. It will not be able to handle the load because the user might be running a script which will be sending thousands of requests per second, and within minutes our server will crash, right? This is called as a denial of service attack or a DOS attack. Okay, what that means, a mischievous user is sending repeated requests to us, and in return our resources on this server is going down and the genuine user are not able to access our API. Okay, so this is the denial of service attack, and this is very prominent on public APIs, which are our get APIs and our login and register. And maybe in your flow you might have forget password, okay, those kind of flow. So there also we have to implement a concept such that we can prevent the denial of service attack. And what is that? That is called as rate limiting. That means you will not allow infinite number of requests, but you will restrict, say for example 3 requests per minute, not more than that. Okay, so this concept is called as rate limiting. So I will come to get all participants, or I will come to get all movies, and if you see I can keep on sending requests, right? Multiple requests. So at some point our Redis will be overloaded with so much of data, right? Because people can easily write a script that can send thousands of requests in 1 second. Okay, so for this we will do the rate limiting. So how we will do that? So there is a package available. I will say npm install, the name is express rate limit. So I will install this one. Once this installation is done, what I can do, what is the best way to implement? Of course, a middleware, right? So I will come to my middleware folder. Okay, and here I will create a new file and I will name it as rate limiter.js. Okay, then what I will import something from express rate limit. Okay, and what I will import, I will import a method called rate limit. Okay, then what I will do, I will create a variable and export it. Export const, I will say rate limiter equals to this rate limit function. Okay, and it will take a configuration object. Okay, then first parameter is Windows millisecond. That means what is your window in terms of millisecond in which you want to do the configuration. So I will say 1 minute. Okay, and if you see this is in millisecond, so what I will do, so I'll first convert it to second, that means 1000 millisecond, then I will convert it to minute. Okay, so this is 1 minute. 1 minute means 60 seconds, and per second there is 1000 millisecond. Okay, then I will say limit. So I'll add a comma here and I will say limit. How many requests you want to add per minute? Okay, so I will say 3 for example. Okay, this vary based on the business need that you are trying to implement. Okay, then I will save it. Then I will import the rate limiter. Import rate limiter from rate limiter middleware. Okay, then I will come here to rate limiter, and here get all movies I will attach the rate limiter. Okay, and then I will come to rate limiter, and there is another property called as handler. Okay, this will be a function, okay, that will get executed when the rate limit is reached. Okay, so what value it will take? It will take request response next. Okay, and what value we want to send? So I will send response.status. And what will be the status? So the status will be 429, that is too many requests. Okay, and I will add the JSON and I will add message. Okay, and I'll simply say too many requests. Okay, here, so in the registration and login flow, we discussed that we should not expose too much of information. Like for example, if it is a correct password but wrong username, or wrong username but correct password. So here also we should not say that you are allowed for only 3 requests per minute. Okay, because with that information also somebody can fine tune the script, so it will keep on sending 3 requests every minute. So we will simply say too many requests. Okay, we don't have to specify too much of information. So I will save this one. Then I have added this middleware in the movies controller. Okay, so rate limiter. So we will test this one. So I will come to Postman. Okay, and participants, movies, get all movies. So I will send first request. So I got the value. Then I will send the second request within the minute. Then third request within the minute. Then fourth request. See, message too many requests, right? And status is 409, too many requests. So now I keep on sending, I'll keep on getting that data. Now what has happened is some mischievous participant cannot now misuse your API, because at the controller level itself we are sending the error that you are sending too many requests, calm down, we will not accept more requests. So subsequently your Redis and your database will not be overloaded with mischievous request, and you will prevent the denial of service attack. So I'll try to send. So if I wait for 1 minute, then I'll be able to send the request. Okay, so let me wait for 1 minute, then I will show you, right? So now I send the request and I got the data. Okay, so this is how you prevent denial of service attack. So we have to a lot extent did good fine tuning. So our API is not giving too much load on the database for either validation or for mischievous request, right? And we are able to handle it at the controller itself. Okay, now what I want to show you is, so when at the beginning I said that we will follow the 3-layer architecture: controller, service and middleware, and each of them will have their own role. So if you see a movie controller, here if you see, we are doing validation at the controller level, we are doing authentication and authorization at the controller level. So this is the responsibility of the controller: do the validation, do the authorization before you go to your service. Then what we are doing in the service, layer. So service layer, what it is doing the business logic, whether I should get data from the Redis or whether I should get data from the database. Possibly there might be multiple database, so based on your configuration, your input, it will decide, okay, which database to get, which table to get the data. So this is the responsibility of the service layer. And if you see the repository, anyways, it is connected directly to the database and serving us the result, right? So this is the clear-cut architecture in which the role of each layer is defined. Some layer is doing validation, authorization, some layer is busy with doing business logic implementation, and some of them are completely coupled with database implementation. So this is the advantage that we get when we follow this kind of layer architecture, with each layer has a specific purpose, that is separation of concern. Okay, so this is why at the beginning I said we will split it into 3 layers: controller, service and repository, right? So we have completed a big deal of our API. So in the next video we will work on this log. Okay, so we are doing this kind of console log, and when your app is running in the production environment, you don't have the privilege to access the log, right? So for that we need some kind of mechanism to debug and see where exactly things went wrong. Okay, so for that we will build our own beautiful log framework instead of relying on this console log. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. Feel free to ask any question, or if you have any suggestion, feel free to write it in the comment box. And if you want this kind of content, do subscribe to this channel and give it a like so that it will reach to more people. And yeah, I hope you like this video, and share your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.